So we're doing SIS Imports and YOU. A little bit about me quickly. I'm an Instructure engineer. I started in December, I think. Previously, I worked with Josh at his backup company doing, petabyte scale like database systems and backup and stuff like that. I think I unfortunately ended up getting a patent pending. So I have a software patent probably, which is regrettable. Yeah, I'm a former Google engineer. I'm currently working on my PhD at the U for programming languages and static analysis. Prior to that, I got a master's, and then I got an undergrad degree for math and computer science, University of Minnesota. My thesis honors research was in predicting user behavior. Currently with Instructure, I'm working on doing machine learning and artificial intelligence to predict user behavior to do automated provisioning for our cloud system. So we're going to do SIS Imports and YOU, though. I'm going to try and I'm sort of interested in having people interrupt me. Like if you have a question, like I'd rather address it when it's relevant. So if you have a question, just let me know. Raise your hand, and we can go for it. What?
How much ketchup?
The question is, how much ketchup do I put on the bacon? And I don't put any ketchup on bacon. The comment was lies. There is a blog. I do fun stuff occasionally. This is me jumping out of a plane in a gorilla suit. You can thank my brother for that one, actually. He encouraged me to go. Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about, just in case you're like wondering what I'm going to talk about, whether or not your question's relevant. We're going to talk about just a brief introduction to student information systems. I'm sure if you're here, you already know about them. Canvas data model, which is important to know. Getting data into Canvas. Great Exchange, we're going to cover a little bit, but mostly we're going to spend time on a case study with Banner. So just so you know, like how you integrate a system with Canvas. And then we'll take questions. For the most part, I think questions are probably going to be the most important part of this talk, so I want to leave a lot of time for that. Okay, so student information systems. This is kind of what I feel like they're for. Just kidding. So they're for an institution hierarchy, like if you want to keep track of your institution's hierarchy. They're for courses, enrollments, schedules, grades, right? Like you know most about these things. We're going to talk about Banner a lot, of course, because that's what we had the most experience so far with. But you know, University of Utah is using PeopleSoft. DataTel is another one. And then there are actually, researching for this talk, found an open source SIS solution that looks kind of like Canvas. It's cloud hosted and kind of cool looking. But who knows if that's good? I don't know. So Canvas data model. So let's imagine that you have a crazy go nuts university, and you have two main departments, engineering and business, and within those there's sub-departments, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and accounting, right? So this might be a possible hypothetical scenario. In Canvas, these are all considered accounts. Accounts can either be a root account or a sub-account. And a sub-account is just parented by some other account. You can have arbitrary levels of hierarchy in the account system with Canvas. In Canvas, it looks like this. So if you click if you're an administrator in Canvas, you can click the sub-accounts tab, and this is what Crazy Go Nuts University looks like. Let's say you have two courses, Mechanical Engineering 2403 and Accounting 1201. We're going to just ignore electrical engineering because it's too complicated. For the most part, that's true anyway. The interesting thing about Canvas is that unlike a lot of student information systems and LMSs, course content is stored at the course level and not the section level. So this makes a lot of things easy, but it's sort of a paradigm shift. For instance, this actually makes cross-listing relatively simple and straightforward. Yeah, so just so you're aware, if you are expecting courses to be sort of folders for sections, that's not true. Content is at the course level. So again, courses, this is a sample course page. I'm sure you've seen a course page. This is my intro to statistics course. Sections. Let's say you have a section for Mechanical Engineering 2403. Let's say it meets on Monday and Wednesday and Tuesday and Thursday. So there's two sections for that course. And then let's say accounting just meets on Monday and Wednesday. The interesting thing is, let's say that Mechanical 2403 is taught by the same professor. The content is shared. They don't have to copy the content. This makes it very easy for them, and that there is, just the content at the course level. The section doesn't need to have a lot of duplicated effort. If you are hoping to have different content, we sort of feel that that's a different course. So you would probably be interested in having a different course in Canvas for different content. So course sections you can actually see in the UI in the settings for a course. And they sort of just look like this. You can click them and look at what students are enrolled in a course. So again, this is a section. This is my course. I'm teaching the Foreman children, George Foreman. An enrollment belongs between a section and a user. So Canvas has users and sections. That's how the enrollments work there. Terms are another data type in Canvas, and courses belong to terms. So if you want to restrict availability to a term or something like that, that's how that works. You can also have groups for sort of, student, activities or things like that. Groups, you can deal with a student information system. There's a group data type, and you can just have users in them. So this is the group of George Foreman's first 3 children. So cross-lists. So it turns out, like I said, cross-lists are easy, actually. Since content is stored at the course level, often cross-listing is sort of complicated in that you want to take a bunch of sections and say these all share the same content. So let's say this is a common, let's say this is our hypothetical scenario. We have those 3 sections. Let's say they're actually all 3 of them. This is accounting 1201 and mechanical 2403. Maybe this is my intro to statistics class. So it has the same content. I'm teaching all 3 sections. So what we can do is just cross-list the course. By cross-listing a section, we just move it. You'll notice that there's a dotted line when a section is cross-listed. It retains its information about what course it originally belonged to, so you can uncross-list or move it back or something like that. It can retain that information. There's a user interface for doing this, but you can also do this through the student information system interface. Okay, so getting data in. So this is kind of what you care about, right? You don't want to do this manually. You have thousands of courses. I'm going up. Okay, so we have a CSV format. This stands for comma separated values. CSVs are sort of a standard alternative to XML for simple structured data. We don't actually care about the file names of the CSV files that you submit. It's just the headers. So the headers determine how we process the CSV file. So you can actually batch import a ton of different CSV files in the same zip file. Doesn't matter, just as long as the headers are right. And you can submit as many as you want a zip file. And we have the full format documented online. We have these are the list of all of the types that you can upload. So users, accounts, terms, courses, sections, enrollments, groups, group membership, and cross lists. The documentation for each one of these types is on our website, and we'll have I'll have links to that, how you can get that there. But just a couple of important notes. Each row in a CSV needs a unique ID, and usually your student information system has this for you, like a unique, like a course ID or a user ID that uniquely determines that ID across your entire institution. So each CSV row needs one of those. Some of our clients have started sending us unencrypted passwords, and we just want to encourage you to use the encrypted password option. There's a salted SHA hash version of a password. This allows us to determine whether or not the user entered the correct password, but we don't actually have that password data. It's a little bit better for privacy and not sending everyone's password in the clear. So that's an encouraging, like a thing that we encourage people to do. And then let's see, what's my note about crosslist? Oh, the crosslist CSV file, it's got 3 columns in it. It's got a course ID and a section ID. If the course, what you can use the course ID column for is just the name of the cross-listing. If that cross-listing references a course that doesn't exist, it will be created for you. So this way you don't have to keep track of whether or not you've created a cross-listing. You can just cross-list courses together to some new cross-list ID, and that will end up creating a course. So it all ends up looking sort of relatively similar to maybe what your student information system is used to. So, okay. So right now we support CSV, and then we've written an adapter for the IMS ES 1.1 XML standard. So that's what Banner actually outputs. What we do is we actually just take the IMS XML and we translate it into CSV. We don't have any special support for Banner. We're just turning it into CSV and then importing it the normal way. And then we'll add formats as we need them. So if you have some format that you want, I know the University of Utah did their PeopleSoft integration to our CSV format, I think, but if that's something that you need, that's something we can do. When you want to submit data, in the account section, there's a SIS Import tab if it's been enabled for your account. And you can just upload the CSV directly to our website. Like, you batch import it, like you import a CSV file or an XML file or a zip file of the two. Like, you have to specify the type, whether or not it's using our plugin for XML or IMS XML or if it's for the CSV. So if you want to do live events, if you went to John's talk on the API, it just uses the API. You can submit XML or CSV or zip files through the API. So, but same sort of things apply. You need to have an API key or the token or however you want to authenticate, plain text plain authentication through HTTP. You just post. And this is actually how Blake was actually able to set up Banner live events going to our Canvas instance. There's a message system listener that's listening and submitting XML to Canvas through the API. So the API gives you a lot of flexibility for integration with real-time events and other things. There's a few other settings, like we have a batch mode. Like, what happens if your student information system isn't keeping track of, reliably about what courses are getting deleted, and you want things to get deleted out of Canvas that have been deleted from your student information system. You can mark a SIS import as canonical. Like, you can say that this data for this term is something that I want, and I don't want anything else. And so Canvas can actually go ahead and delete anything that's not currently present in the current SIS import. So you can do a batch export of your current student information system and just mark everything else as deleted. It's restricted to a term for good reasons. Some student information system fields are sticky, so if a user changes them in the user interface, we don't actually want the student information system to change them back. So if the user changes their password or their display name, if an administrator does a cross-listing, we want to make sure that that user interface change has been maintained, as opposed to having the next time a real-time event comes in, blowing away the user's changes. So names, passwords, cross-listing. And we're trying to give UI changes priority. So if you change something in the UI, then the student information system often won't be able to override that. We need to improve sort of the clarity about when the student information system can override that, and resetting those fields and stuff like that. But for the most part, basically UI changes have priority. So Grade Exchange. Grade Exchange is sort of a new feature that we're adding. You get this new tab on the settings page for a course. The teacher can initiate publishing grades. They just click the button. This is how it gets enabled. You won't see this page. These are the settings that Canvas admins can change for where grade export is going. Like, it just publishes to an HTTP endpoint. We publish some CSV. Basically, the flow is Canvas publishes to the student information system at an HTTP endpoint, and then optionally you can configure it to wait for a response from the student information system about whether or not the grade publishing was successful. So the things that are sent are who's publishing, like the teacher, the section that is currently being in question, the student, the enrollment, and then the grade or score. So we do both letter and number grades. And then if you're going to return back, you need to reply with the enrollment or if it was published or error. So okay, so case study. So Banner SunGuard is a pleasure to work with. Yeah, it's been great. They use the IMS standard. So this is why we're using our XML. They support live events through their message broker adapter, which is they already had in place for Moodle. They are currently working on an additional plugin for receiving grade exchange, and that'll be done soon. So some sort of notable exceptions, like I said, courses are viewed as folders in Banner, which is not how Canvas views them, right? Content is at the course level in Canvas, and not really is the expectation in Banner. So, and sections have content. That's the sort of expectation from most of the schools that I've talked to that are using Banner. So those are some sort of caveats that we had to deal with this Banner integration. So. The way that we ended up dealing with this is, we just sort of had to establish a mapping between, data types in Banner and data types in Canvas. So colleges and departments are things that Banner has. Those were easy. Those are both accounts in Canvas. So Canvas accounts, Banner College Department, so that was easy. Courses, well, they're folders. They're really sort of collections of courses as far as of Canvas courses. So we're considering adding an abstract course type in Canvas, but that's not really something we have exposed to the user yet. So we'll come back to that one. Sections, on the other hand, sections are expected to have content. So a Banner section is really a Canvas course. And then for every course, there needs to be at least one section. So this integration with Banner ends up generating one course and one section for every, in Canvas, for every section from Banner that it sees. So that's sort of the mapping. And then memberships in Banner are just enrollments in Canvas, so that was straightforward. So crosslists, right? So, okay, so crap, well, we have to deal with crosslists. Crosslists are complicated with Banner and some other LMSs. Oh wait, no, they're easy with Canvas. What we're gonna do is every time we see a cross-listing code, like when you have a section cross-listed to a cross-listing code, we're just going to assume that that's a course ID, and we will just pass that in with the CSV as a new cross-listing. We're gonna move that section to the new course. So let's say this is our hypothetical situation. We're gonna cross-list those three things together using the CSV. We assume that there is some cross-listing code, XLS 1201. And then we just say, okay, we're going to cross-list those three sections to this assumed course. Canvas will end up creating a new course, keeping track of its course that it was copied from, and it will keep track of the original courses that those sections belong to. So that's how cross-listing works. So it ended up being sort of straightforward. So there's a bunch of sort of additional things to decide with Banner, right? Like the data format has a number of different places where you can provide an email, pull an email address from. How do you pull the section name? Banner has like long, short, full section names. Where do we get our section name from? So that's an option that you can pick. Course name, same problem. Like which of the data fields in the XML do you use for the course? Do you even map sections to courses at all? Like maybe you just do one-to-one. Like Banner courses are Canvas courses, and Banner sections are Canvas sections. Maybe you don't care about the course content sharing problem. So that's another option that you can actually pick with our plugin. Well, that's actually just skippable. How do you deal with bad data? So this is a common recurring problem. If your Banner installation has bad data in it for a number of reasons, like what do you do when Canvas gets that data? Like, can you filter it out? That's just sort of a hard problem, right? Like at some point, Canvas needs to trust the SIS for what it's getting. But we have a number of things in place to sort of try and deal with, invalid data or incorrectly formatted data or stuff like that. We try and show errors and warnings when possible, just try and move on when we see bad data. But for the most part, if you put bad data in, sometimes you get bad data out. So that's sort of a problem that just, is sort of a hard problem to address. But we have a number of things we've added to sort of help clean up data. And then again, these things are available for configuration when we do the implementation process with our customers. So, okay, so questions. So there's a number of places to answer questions, and we can do that right now. But just so you know, on the SIS import page where you upload that blue link here, this thing is a link to the CSV documentation. Additionally, our API docs, which the API talk, this is available online as well. That's linked to, you can find that from our GitHub page. This is our open source page, which is linked to from our technology page from our main website. There's a bunch of different ways of getting help. We have an IRC channel, we have a Google group, we have a FAQ, we have a number of things, trying to help people who are looking for information. Again, my name is JT, 2 letters, jt@instructure.com. I love questions. So if you have some sort of problem that you might, need addressing, again, the link to docs, link to the API. Oh, and then that's actually the 100th slide. So that's everything. So questions? Yeah.
Not being familiar with how Canvas operates with live events, what happens when a student gets enrolled? Our institution, for instance, when a student has tuition problems, they are temporarily denied access to their course with our current implementation, but it preserves their work so that when they get their issues put back together, that they can pick up their laptop. Is that what what's here?
Yeah, so basically what needs to happen is the student information system. Go ahead. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. The question was, what do you do when the student information system decides that a student is no longer enrolled in a course or temporarily suspended from a course, right? How does that work with live events? Okay, so basically what happens is the student information system needs to send an update saying this student's enrollment is now inactive. And once it's once the students repaid their tuition or whatnot, then the student information system needs to send another live event that just says that enrollment is now active. So I mean, as long as the student information system is sending the data for that, like, it's fine. Yeah, you can just upload that through the API. Devlin.
I guess I would just add on to that it does not lose any of their work.
Sure. So Devlin adds it would not lose any of their work if that ends up being the case. Right. Go for it.
Is Instructure considering developing integration brokers for the larger SIS systems used by universities?
So the question was, is Instructure considering developing integration brokers for the larger universities, for SIS systems used by the larger universities? And basically, we're just doing this by a case-by-case basis. Like when people sign up with us, if we don't have an integration already with them, like, that's a high priority for us. So yeah, so I mean, I don't, did you have one in mind?
Well, we're PeopleSoft.
PeopleSoft, okay, right.
Some limitations that are going to occur because you're using REST and things like that that aren't really native to PeopleSoft. So I'm just wondering if, I mean, to me it'd be a lot easier to implement it if there was already an integration broker in place that I could just send the output from SIS2 and then let that component address the interaction with the Canvas API.
Right, so the comment was it would be easier to just implement if there was already existing brokers, right? And we agree, right? It's much easier to implement if it's already supported. So yeah.
I guess I'll just mention that some of those the middleware in PeopleSoft actually are RESTful consumers. PeopleSoft already has a lot of distributed as well.
I know, like, we've had a lot of problems with most of our web services are SOAP-based web services, and PeopleSoft has a problem with using web services. They can expose web services, but they don't like to use web services.
So the comment was just a discussion based on SOAP versus REST, and if we need to do SOAP integration, we will. Yeah.
So you went very quickly over grade posting.
Sure.
Can you point out where in the interface?
Sure. Okay. So it's currently a plugin, and it needs to be enabled. Oh, yeah. The question was, I went over quickly grade exchange. I can go back. Oh, yeah. It was back there. Wow. Oh, too far actually. So the question was, yeah. So where do you find grade exchange in the? In the UI. So this tab is disabled and not visible unless it's been enabled for that account. So we still have a little bit of work to do as far as making sure that this is working at a production scale level. But this is a recent feature, so I guess this is more of a feature demonstration. But yeah, so if the plugin for grade publishing has the enabled checkbox, this tab will show up on course settings pages. As part of the setup for enabling that plugin for an account, we need to know endpoint publishing information and what format that will be. By default, it's this CSV format that has this data in it. But that's documentation that we will absolutely, we need to post that somewhere and have that documented well for. That's part of our release process for getting people aware of this feature. Yeah.
So a question on grade publishing. Have you encountered customers where they might use multiple SIS and diverse SIS consumers in publishing grades, and do you provide the instructor the ability to, given they have the rights and authority on their campus network, to publish to diverse SIS systems?
Okay, so the question was, what do you do in the case where there are multiple SIS systems that publishing grades needs to happen to? That's not currently a case we've encountered. So there isn't really a good system for that, but we will, yeah, if that's something we need to do, absolutely. That shouldn't be much of a problem, I don't think, to have some sort of drop down maybe or something that has, I mean, without going into details, that should be easy to do, yeah.
Can you tell a little more about the UI priority on the imports?
Sure. So, okay, so the question is more about the UI priority on imports. So right now the UI priority is on names, passwords, and cross-listing. For those types of data, if there's a UI change after a student information system import, then the UI will the UI change will remain even after additional SIS imports on the same data. So if if for any other field right now, just the student information system will be able to change it. Sure. Yeah.
Any comment on system performance on like V-Day, where everyone's publishing their courses all at once? How long it takes for, say, all X number of those courses to process the enrollments?
So the question was a question about performance for importing a number of events during the main registration day. Are you asking for live events or just batch imports,
We
or?
have a lot of instructors who wait till the very last minute to say, okay, students, you can have access to the course.
Yeah.
And it slows down the system to like within 4 hours before the students have access to their course and they freak out.
Well, so okay, so the comment was, yeah, basically, there's a lot of people who wait till the last minute, and so that ends up being a large load problem. Yeah, as load problems go, like the more load, the more load Canvas will have. So that, I mean, it will take a while for large imports. Like I know of a few Utah State University is going to have a really good idea of how long imports take. But so it takes a while, but for the most part, I think our live events are keeping up currently. Has that been? Yes, good. Okay, batch imports go much quicker than the live events, and that's just because that's something that we're looking at fixing. We want the live events to go much faster than the batch imports, just because they're going to be happening continually. But that's something we're working on. Yes. Oh, okay. Any other questions?
I've got one kind of off to the side with cross-listed courses. Once you have these 3 sections cross-listed, if you've got a teaching assistant in each of those 3 sections, does the teaching assistant see information from one of the other sections?
I don't. So the question was, yeah, if Devlin, if you want to come up, the question was if a teacher has teaching assistants in 3 different sections that are cross-listed, can the teaching assistants see data from the other sections? So I think the answer is no.
When you enroll the TA, you can choose if you enroll them inside all sections, or you can actually scope them to a specific section. So it's a FERPA thing too. So you can enroll them just for a specific section. Their grade books, the speed grader, everything is scoped to just one section. One thing I did want to mention before about when you update something in the UI, like if you change a course name, that doesn't mean that the whole course is now out of updating. It's just the course name won't be updated. Enrollments and deletions and what will continue. Yeah. And then you had a question too about the last day and people waiting till the last second. By default, when we push in courses, they go into a state that's called unpublished. And so usually the system actually knows that a course was created and is going to be offered the next semester long before the semester starts. And we just give access to just the teachers and the TAs. And then the teacher can decide when to publish it, and it makes it available to the students. So usually there's not this mad rush of here, let's get a ton of enrollments the 2 hours before the course starts. This usually already happened. The course is sitting there, the enrollments are ready. They just publish it and make it available to their students. And so that's usually not an issue.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay, okay, go for it. Oh, okay.
I think you guys did a great job putting all this together in a short amount of time. It's a lot of work, a lot of things to integrate. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.